Okay, so next week we're going to be looking at skirts and the pattern cutting basics for making a skirt, manipulating darts and finding other ways of shaping skirts also. We'll be looking at ways to add volume and we'll be looking at how you can taper a skirt. So first thing is to get to know your block essentially, and here I have the block laid out. The centre front comes two pieces. You have a front piece, you have a back piece. So I'm just going to lay these two together so that you can have a look to understand how the shaping happens. So the shaping for this skirt happens in darts here and here, and also in the side seam. If you look at the side seam, when you've got the sides together, it creates like a curved dart. So the arrangement for these darts is what's up for discussion in our first session, and that is basically these darts. We have two at the front, we have one at the back. They don't have to be that way. You could have one at the front, you could have three at the front, you could have two at the back, three at the back. How the darts get arranged is a styling issue and also a fit issue, which you'll hopefully come to terms with at some point outside of this particular assignment. You'll note that the darts at the front are shorter, the dart at the back is longer. Usually darts happen at between 10 centimetres long and about 15-16 centimetres long. As to how long they are, that really depends on who you're making them for. For a younger, slimmer market, they tend to be a little bit longer. If you were dealing with somebody with a bigger bottom, then these would be shorter. A very flat stomach, longer. But what you've got here is pretty much average. I think the ones at the front, I'll just do a quick measurement, they are 12.5 centimetres long, and at the back that one is 16 centimetres long. So they're kind of running at the average. Okay. First thing I'm going to show you is the simplest way that you can move a dart, and you basically just need to plot it into a different area. So what I think I'll do on this one is I'm going to change the configuration of these darts, and I'm going to put two at the back, one at the front. I'm going to keep the darts vaguely in that centre section of the skirt, which is where you'd expect them to happen. They can kind of slide along and slide back that way. You're not going to want them too close to the centre front. You're probably not going to want them too close to the side seams. Again, it's a fit issue. This is something for you to play with when we're back in the studio. Okie dokes. So, I've said I'm going to put one at the front, two at the back. What we need to know before we do any fiddling about is how much at the top, how much shape do these darts give us. So I'm just going to write on here, that one is 1.5. This one is 2.2 it says. Don't forget you're going to be using a nice fine pencil. Might be part of why those numbers have come up different than I expect, is because I'm using a thick pencil. At the back here we have 4 centimetres. In all, at the front we've got 3.7. I would have expected them to be much more similar than that, but I'm going to go with what the measurements are. I'm going to plot a position here that's halfway across the hip line. Oh, we didn't discuss it, that's your hip line. That's your hip line, it's an important one. When we are putting our patterns out, it's handy to have the centre front here, centre back here, hip line and hemline in a row, in a line, so that you can be accurate with what you're achieving if you're going to be moving seams from front to back. I'm going to come up for this particular instance straight off the hip line up through the waist, and then I'm going to be very irritated by that measurement because 3.7, I want a halfway mark on 3.7. I'm going to say it's 3.8. So that's 1.5 plus 3, so that's 1.8 centimetres on either side of this line. So what I've done is I've added the dart measurements together and divided them in two. I'm going to keep the dart ending at roughly the same place. I'm going to make it a smidge longer because that will make it easier to make it a nice smooth ending in the sewing. And like I say, this isn't an exact science. So you know how when we did the dart manipulations for the bust, it was all very strict. It's much less strict when you're dealing with skirt darts. Okay, so I'm going to put a mark on here at the halfway point, and then I'm going to go 5 on either side of that to be my positions for the darts at the back. I know that I want 4 centimetres worth of dart, so they could be slightly different, they could be equal. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep them equal, and I'm going to keep them equal length. So each of these darts I want to be a total of 2 centimetres. I'm just marking that to either side. They are quite a distance away from each other, but that's not necessarily a problem. So, in black are my new dart positions. What I want to do now is I want to make sure that I've got a smooth run through at the waist. So we've done this before, we did it when we were looking at the bodices, and it's exactly the same technique now we're looking at the skirt. So I am going to fold along the dart edge. I'm going to put my finger at the end of the dart so I don't fold beyond it, like so. And I'm going to pop a pin in this. Okay, so what I'm looking for is a smooth line that runs from the centre front up into the top waistline. I'm going to use my pattern master to find a nice curve that runs between those two. Drawn on. So basically all I've lost is the top, the pointy top edge for the dart, the previous dart. I'm going to run through here with my tracing wheel, and that gives me the shape that this needs to be on the top edge. So the new top edge is this line that I'm drawing in now. I think that's pretty simple. I hope you find that simple. Okay, we now need to do the same with the back. So we're going to close the dart. So we're folding it just to the pointy end, putting our finger here and folding that over as if it was being sewn together. We're going to pop a pin in it. Lovely. And we're going to do the same on this one. Finger at the end. And we're going to pop, oh, well, we are going to pop a pin in it when I find one. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so same old, Going to find a nice line that runs through from the waist as it is here through to that straight piece that happens to the centre back. There you go. I think that looks good. Through with the tracing wheel. Oh, don't go through this one with the tracing wheel. Okay, so there's not much action going on there, but there is something that you need to note. And that one runs pretty much straight. Okay, so that's your first exercise, one that I would like all of you to do, which is just changing the dart positions. You will now trace off around the outside edge with the new top line that you've made, new dart position. You'll trace around this one, put side seam around, new dart positions. Job done. First task.